Chair Robbins, you may call the meeting to order. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Let me unmute myself. I'd like to call the order of the meeting of the IBLC for Thursday, August 12th, 2021. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Robbins. This meeting is being conducted virtually, so I will do a roll call of the trustees now. Mr. Knox?
Here.
Mr. Santos? Ms. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Bernstein?
Here I am.
Mr. Oakham?
I'm here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Kehoe?
Present.
Ms. Zapanta? Mr. Pryor? Mr. Harris? Chair Robbins?
I am present.
Staff participating in the meeting include CEO Santos Kryman, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, AEO JJ Popowich, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu, from Retiree Healthcare, Cassandra Smith, Director, and Kathy Magida, consultants Stephen Murphy, Paul Sadro, Richard Ward, Michael Zito from Siegel. Trustees, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you're ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much, Terry. Item number 1A, approval of the minutes of the July 5th meeting. I need a motion.
So moved.
Are there
Second.
any corrections or any changes? Seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe,
Aye.
Mr. Oakham,
Aye.
Chair Robbins.
I'm an aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Now's the time for public comment. Do we have anyone from the public wishing to address the committee?
I have no requests from the public.
Thank you very much. We're on item 3A, action items. Recommendation submitted by Cassandra Smith that the committee authorize staff to submit a letter of support to the Attorney General's office supporting Providence Health and Kaiser Permanente constructing a new hospital in the high desert. We have a memo dated July 20th. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to support.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I think that's probably well and badly needed. Please call the roll, Terry.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe,
Aye.
Mr. Oakham,
Aye.
Chair Robbins.
I'm an aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item B, recommendation by Mr. Liu, Legislative Affairs Officer, that the committee recommend the Board of Retirement adopt a watch position on Assembly Bill 826, which would define compensation earnable to include any form of remuneration, whether paid in cash or as an in-kind benefit, as specified requirements are met. We got a July 30th, 2021 memo. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Liu?
I'm
I
just
don't have
curious. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Gray.
I was just going to say, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. This was this particular bill was highly discussed at the last Sackers Ledge meeting. And some people wanted to oppose it. However, when you really read all of the effects of this bill, it affects our members, and to oppose it would be really to the detriment of some of our members. So I think that for LACERA to take a watch position, it is the appropriate position. And I think Mr. Liu weighed in on that. I agree. We should just watch it and not oppose it.
Can I comment though? Our policy, board policy on engagement on says that we support policy standards that have a positive impact on LACERA members. So I'm curious why we would take a watch position rather than a support position. I can't believe anybody would consider it a opposed position, but I understand why some. But to me, I mean, I'm supportive of this item, and I also think that it does fall within that line of our guidance, specifically those that have a positive impact on LACERA members.
I agree with you, Mr. Kehoe.
Let me lateral the ball to Mr. Liu and let him weigh in on that.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair Robbins and trustees. So yes, Mr. Kehoe does have a point about the effect being, that we would support things that are positive. With respect to this particular bill, as I mentioned, we're still discussing the effect of this bill internally. So, and the other thing to keep in mind is that this issue arose within Ventura County. So the Ventura County Employees Retirement Association itself is neutral on this bill. So I think it would be, I think, prudent to kind of not step on anyone's toes or to take a stronger position than the retirement system itself, in whose county this issue arose.
Any other questions? No questions, Mr. Kehoe?
No,
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Go ahead. We need a motion anyway, so
But I have a question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
go for it.
Thank you. So, Mr. Liu, educate me on this. I mean, the impact to, I'm in favor of supporting this legislation, but my question is, how is it that this bill impacts LA County employees? If I remember correctly, for the past almost 25 years, I'm going to say, the county has always asked those employees coming into the county to waive the Megaflex benefits of payment that we get. So it doesn't count for retirement purposes. If I remember correctly, am I correct on that, or can you educate me on that?
Yes, you are correct on that. So it's actually kind of complicated with respect to LA County because we really have 4 flex benefits or cafeteria plans. Just off the top of my head, I think it was Megaflex and Flex, choices and options. And then yes, with I think the Megaflex plans, there was the issue of the waiver of pensionability as well. So for certain a segment of the member population at one point, they could have signed that waiver in order to receive more taxable cash. And I think later the waiver related to the fact that they would waive pensionability of any increases in flex benefits. So that's kind of the short answer regarding the different flex benefit plans that we have and the waiver that you mentioned.
And was there a court decision, I believe is coming from San Gabriel City, who challenged, I know that's the reason, or one reason why, maybe Mr. Kehoe can elaborate on this, but there was a court case that through the CCU health agreement with the county because of this issue. Wasn't that the case that we have? I think it was coming out of San Gabriel Valley City, if I remember correctly.
I remember that, but I don't have the specifics on it.
Yeah, okay. So in my request is for next time to please, Mr. Liu, elaborate on the issues that I raise. I could be totally wrong, but it will be a good idea to get educated, at least for my part, to be educated on how this particular legislation impacts my county.
Yes, and that's why I mentioned that we're still discussing this internally, given the complexities of our cafeteria plans.
Any other questions?
So can we just make a motion for a watch and then direct staff to bring this back next month to discuss with this being the additional items being addressed?
I'll second that motion. So we have a motion for a watch position and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Terry?
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Oakham,
Aye.
Chair Robbins.
I'm an aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
We're on to item C, recommendations submitted by Mr. Liu that the committee recommend the Board of Retirement adopt a support position on HR 2337, which would enact the Public Service Protection and Fairness Act of 2021. There's a memo dated July 30th, 2021 in the packet. Is there a motion?
I'll move staff recommendation.
And I'll second it. Questions? No questions? Terry, call the roll.
Ms. Gray? Ms. Gray? Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Oakham?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Chair Robbins.
I'm an aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We're on to item D, recommendation by Mr. Liu, Legislative Affairs Officer, that the committee recommend the Board of Retirement adopt a support position on S 1302, which would enact the Social Security Fairness Act. We have an August 1st, 2021 memo in the packet. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Is there any discussion on this?
Actually, this is a bill that we have been pushing for years and years and years. It seems like every time we go to Washington for our legislative conference and we meet with our representatives, we're constantly saying yes, yes, yes. And I hope that this will be the telling bill, or at least end our need to have to grovel to eliminate the WEP and the GPL. So I hope it passes and they act on it.
Yeah, and in reading Mr. Liu's rather comprehensive memo on this, there's good and bad in this whole thing. And the bad part is it is not going to do much for people that are already retired. It's going to help people that retire after 2023, but for somebody like me, I might get an extra $150, which is a far cry from the $2,000 plus that I didn't get paid when I retired from a Social Security benefit that I earned. But anyway, I guess it's better than a kick in the butt. So we'll see what happens. But it's not a half a loaf. It's not even the heels on the end of the loaf. As far as I'm concerned, and RELAC has been pounding this forever. And when I mentioned to Dave Muir that I thought we weren't getting much, he got a little unhappy with me. So anyway, we have motion and a second. Terry, you want to call the roll?
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Oakham?
Aye.
Chair Robbins.
And I'm an aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
We're on to information items. A, engagement report for July, Mr. Liu.
Thank you, Chair Robbins. So some items of interest for the committee. The first item, it's from the Little Hoover Commission. They put out a report on online meetings. Essentially, the Little Hoover Commission, I like to think of it as sort of a think tank for the state of California. So I know during this pandemic year, we've all done online meetings, and they've made two recommendations on online meetings. In that the first one would require boards and commissions to provide public access through a teleconferencing option. And the second recommendation is to allow the members of boards and commissions to participate remotely without publicly disclosing, their location. In other words, making their home available to the public. Now, this recommendation really relates to the Bagley-Keene Act, which is sort of like the Brown Act for the state, as opposed to local agencies. But they do discuss that it would be worthwhile to look at this at the Brown Act level as well. Currently, there have been 3 bills on the Brown Act. The one that seems most relevant is AB 399. That requires jurisdictions with at least 250,000 people, such as cities or counties, to allow for online meetings. That bill doesn't apply to agencies such as us as LACERA, but it remains to be seen whether AB 399 will pass or not. The second item relates to different generational views regarding retirement. I think this has been a topic that's popped up, every now and then over the past year. But the National Institute on Retirement Security released this report on different generational views, and basically finds that millennials and Gen Xers are most concerned about the pandemic's impact on their retirement. And they're also most pessimistic about retirement, in that they, along with others, feel that there is a retirement crisis in the U.S. There's also broad support for Social Security, including increasing contributions as well as expanding benefits to that program. And then, all generations, they have a favorable views of DB plans in general, with millennials holding the most favorable views. And, most people agree that pensions are better than 401k plans in terms of providing retirement security. And then with the next item on baby boomer retirements and the economy, so the pandemic year has resulted in layoffs for lots of people. People aged 25 to 54 have generally been making strides going back to work, but it seems that those 55 and older sort of has plateaued in terms of return to work compared to last year. And a lot of that has to do with the pandemic causing people to reassess the direction of their lives and whether they should continue working or basically retire. And in addition to that, other demographic pressures such as a low birth rate and a lower growth in the working age population can also put pressure on, say, slower economic growth and lower productivity. So if you kind of look at the numbers here, the first quarter of 2021, there had been 30 million baby boomers that reported being out of the workforce. And so that's about 2.7%, 2.7 million higher than the same period last year. And then the next item, just in terms of, more broadly, the demographics in the US about the population growth grinding to a halt. The population had grown 0.35% as of July 2020, which was the lowest rate ever documented, and it's expected to remain flat for 2021. And so the estimate is that there will be about 300,000 fewer births in 2021 due to reasons such as an uncertain economy, financial insecurity among young adults, and also, interestingly, rising educational attainment by women. It seems that there's a correlation in that higher educational attainment results in either women waiting longer to have children or not having children at all. So the pandemic in 2020 basically drove down life expectancy by 1.5 years, which is the largest drop since World War II. And interesting, if you recall, back in 2015 to 17, when life expectancy went down 0.1 years, there were some, cause for concern, but, relatively speaking, now we're talking about 1.5 years. And so in terms of demographics, in 2020, there were more deaths than births in 55% of the counties compared to 37% in the year prior. And then a lot of rural counties face higher demographic pressures in that they tend to have older residents and then an exodus of young people as well. And what this means is that if you have a higher ratio of retirees than workers, that can result in higher costs in Social Security and Medicare due to a lower population growth rate. And then the last couple of items on pension news, the CalSTABR's lawsuit, it's been ongoing for the last couple of years. The last decision on this was that the Ninth Circuit, rejected the appeal by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. So I think their last remaining option would be to appeal this to the Supreme Court. As far as the CalSTABR's program itself, it just this past June passed a milestone of requiring companies with 50 or more workers to enroll in the program. And so the milestone next year in 2022 is companies with 5 or more workers will need to enroll in a program if they don't offer a retirement program, themselves. And so currently the program has about 200,000 accounts from 11,000 employers and with assets of about $87 million. And then the last item is interesting from Hawaii. They passed a pension forfeiture law. As you all know, we had our own pension forfeiture law passed 8 years ago through PEPRA. But Hawaii's law is interesting in that it would authorize the forfeiture of one half of a member's retirement benefits if they're convicted of a work-related felony. So it's not really tied to service credit as the PEPRA felony forfeiture provision is, but it also prohibits a beneficiary from receiving the benefits if they too are convicted of a felony under the same circumstances as a member. So I guess it's sort of a Bonnie and Clyde situation there. And this new law would apply effective for felonies committed after June 24th, 2021. So that concludes my report, and happy to take any questions.
I have some questions.
Kehoe.
Yeah, so regarding the Little Hoover Commission's report and associated bills with the online meetings and all of that, I've just asked that that this organization be actively engaged in those conversations. So I see AB 339 wouldn't apply to us. Maybe we need to talk about that. But I think we need to be actively engaged in conversations, and that we should be advocating for enhanced online meeting laws. But I'd like to direct staff to look at all existing bills that tie into it and to bring those back for discussion at this committee. And then we can proceed and see how best to proceed with that discussion.
Very good. Any
Yes,
other comments? Any other comments? Thanks, Barry. That was a good report, as usual. Item B, staff activities report for July. Cassandra?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Just one short report. We are continuing with our participation in the retiree drug subsidy program, requesting the subsidy payment from CMS for the 2020-2021 plan year. That should net us about another over $10 million.
Any questions? Thank you, Cassandra. We're on to item C, LACERA claims experience. Mr. Murphy, you're up.
I'm unmuted, is that correct?
Not anymore.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
That's what I wanted. I was trying to make sure we did this efficiently, and so that always worries me. So, good morning, committee members. We have here's the updated financial experience report for the period ending June 2021. The first page will give you a quick recap of the distribution of premiums and membership across all plans. So no changes here, very stable in that regard. The next page shows the historical non-Medicare carrier renewals. At the very top, we will update that when we transition to the next period, which will begin the new plan year from an experience perspective, July 1st. On the bottom chart, we have the comparison of the per retiree per month costs on a year-over-year basis, so based on a rolling 12-month basis. Moderate increases at Anthem, about a 1.9% increase. Cigna, we're showing a 16.6% increase year over year. And again, as we've discussed before, this is a very small, mature population, and so subject to a lot of variability in terms of overall claim activity. Kaiser is a carryover report. We'll get an updated report from Kaiser in the next reporting cycle. But this is a true reflection of kind of the claim activity year over year, and very reflective of the suspension of services during the initial pandemic. On the next page, we're showing just a snapshot of the Anthem claims experience by plan. Again, overall, about a 1.6% increase year over year, and then some moderate variability with respect to the Anthem plans, the non-Medicare plans, plans 1 and 2. And then we're seeing a slight reduction for prudent buyer, 2.1%, and the Medicare supplemental plan, plan 3, saw an uptick of about 2.3%. Next page is the Kaiser utilization summary. Again, this is data based on activity through March 31, 2021. We'll get an updated report in the next cycle. Again, this is clearly the current period reflective of the suspension of services during the kind of initial peak of the COVID pandemic. And so you saw a huge reduction in outpatient claims, 21%, almost 22%. And we also had some kind of flat inpatient claims and a reduction in overall large claims, individuals with claims in excess of $475,000. So all that combination of items is there to help kind of justify period over period of about 9%. This is the large claim activity, and this will give you an idea of, again, what's kind of driving costs. So again, Anthem costs were down, Kaiser's costs were down. Again, that Cigna population, which has for those that remember the Ross Lowe's plan, so those that are associated with that plan, a tremendous spike in large claims. And as a percentage of the population that's incurring those large claims, you can see a great difference between Anthem and Kaiser, which are less than a percentage of the overall covered population, and looking at Cigna, where it's almost 4% of the population are incurring large claims. Next exhibit is a recap of the prescription drug pharmacy rebates. So again, these are generated through negotiations by CVS and the manufacturers of those medications. And those rebates are used to offset the program's overall costs. So again, we're seeing a slight increase over the prior period. Again, we anticipate this will be updated in the next reporting cycle, which is take us through to kind of June 30. Last exhibit from the claims experience is for dental and claims. And so again, I think at the initial onset of the pandemic, we saw reductions in these costs. And now we're seeing a bit of a rebound with respect to both dental and vision coverage as members are more comfortable going in and receiving services. So not a surprise there. And I would say that's very consistent for plan sponsors kind of across California and across the country. Any questions on the experience report?
Yeah, Steve, I'd like to ask a question relative to the drug claims where we're getting back, I don't know, $2-3 million. And I'd like to know maybe from Cassandra, how is that money used? Is it offset premiums? What is it used for?
Yes, we use that to help offset our premium costs
Our cost or the cost of to any of our?
to the members as well. Whatever our premium cost is for that plan, it's used across the board. So those members that are paying a portion, they are also benefiting from that.
So we couldn't use that money to go to 2 million on there from 1 to 2.
No.
I'm just where that money is to find a way to put that into place. So, okay, thank you, Cassandra. Thank you, Steve.
If I could build on that too, again, the reason we highlight this, one, because of the impact it has on the overall budget. But number two is the federal government looks at a variety of options with regard to transparency, cost reduction, et cetera. Pharmaceutical rebates always come into play. And so again, I'm not opposed to transparency, and I think that's great if we can implement that. I think our concern is that for plan sponsors like LACERA that have received these rebates in the past, whatever solution may be proposed or actually implemented, we want to make sure that you're getting equal value, and that is a definite concern of ours. So that's one of the reasons why we try to highlight this, each month as we go through this report, so you understand the value of the rebates, both to LACERA as well as to members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Steve? I've got one for you, Steve. I'm just curious, is there anything in the report this month that any of these numbers or any of these trends that are concerning to you at this point?
Actually, the biggest challenge is having to underwrite kind of that COVID period. So again, if we go back and assume that the second quarter of 2020 is where we saw the biggest impact in terms of suspension of services, it's very difficult to underwrite on a sustainable basis what we think would have happened. And so as we go through the renewal process, there are, carriers, Kaiser, Cigna, Anthem, are all trying to figure out methods to ensure that they're projecting appropriately, but not over projecting what they think the cost might be. And so there's going to be some ongoing battles that we'll do with those vendors. And actually, it's a great question because we're actually in the process now of beginning the planning process for the next renewal. So even though it's a 7/1 renewal, we'll begin those conversations in October, November. And we just need to make sure that as they develop those rates and make their assumptions, that they're not being overly conservative. And probably one example I could give is that it is easy to stop seeking services and kind of get that reduction and saying, okay, no one went, so we had no expense. Because of the finite capacity to provide services, it's hard for me personally to understand how we would kind of create that equal bubble, but on the upside, in terms of increased utilization because there's just so much capacity in the system. So again, we'll work with all the vendors to strike a appropriate balance and make sure that pricing is appropriate and fair as we go forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions of Steve before we move on to legislation? We're on to D, federal legislation, Steve.
Feels like it's back to me again. So not a surprise, back in July, the National Public Health Emergency was extended into October. So it's set to end on October 18th, 2021. And again, certainly have the latitude at the federal level to extend that if necessary. I've highlighted one thing in yellow just to kind of make sure everybody has that understanding. So the emergency is important from a health plan sponsor perspective because it dictates how long we need to reimburse COVID testing and services at no cost sharing to the member. And again, so this is not employment related. This is strictly for those that have symptoms or trying to treat conditions or issues related to COVID-19. So that's how that will transpire. So again, really no change. And we'll kind of continue to watch this and see how it extends into the future.
Any predictions on how long this is going to go on?
Yeah, personally, I thought we were near the end at this point. Almost feels like we're doing a repeat. So I can't begin to understand where we get around this other than increased vaccination rates. And I think was it last night, I think for pregnant women, I think those felt that the vaccination could actually help and benefit them without severe side effects. So I think we'll have to continue and see where this goes. But yeah, I had no expectation we'd enter another school year with the same open questions we had a year ago.
Any other questions of Steve? Does this conclude your federal report, Steve?
It absolutely does.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? All right, we'll go to good of the order items for staff review. I'm sorry.
Yes, we had one item to direct staff to look at all existing bills regarding online meeting laws and bring a report back to the committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kehoe, for that suggestion. For item 6, good of the order. Who wants to go first? Mr. Santos.
I got nothing, thank you.
Ms. Gray.
Nothing, thank you. Very good meeting, though.
Mr. Bernstein.
I have nothing, just wishing everyone a good month.
Mr. Oakham.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Kehoe. Captain Kehoe. Megaflex Captain Kehoe. That makes him happy. Staff, anyone from staff? Mr. Kryman.
Yes, I just wanted to report to the trustees that Mr. Liu and I are planning a trip to Sacramento on Tuesday. As soon as we solidify the itinerary, I will share it with all of the trustees just so that you know who we're going to be meeting with and what topics. We'll definitely discuss the online meeting issues as part of our walk around in the Capitol. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much. Anyone else before I grab it? Because I got a couple of things I wanna talk about. Mr. Lugo, anything?
Yep, just wishing everyone a good rest of your day. I do want to add for staff activity that we are going to go back with respect to AB 826, additional information to bring back to this committee. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Cassandra. Oh,
I have nothing.
The light went out.
I have nothing, thank you.
I've got a couple of things. Number one, I look forward to my meeting with Mr. Lugo with Lewis next week. I think we're on the 17th. I'm looking at you on the screen and I'm going, damn, that guy's young. So, I mean, but I'm hearing nothing but good things about you, sir. So I'm looking forward to exchanging thoughts and ideas. And Mr. Kryman, it looks like you made a really good choice here. So
thank you.
At good of the order, I either was not paying attention or I didn't get called on, but there's a couple things on good of the order from the last meeting I'll touch on right here. Number one, I too wanted to wish Johanna a happy retirement. Retirement is good. So hopefully she learns to stay busy because that's kind of important. And do all the things that you didn't have time to do before you retired and while you still have your health, because that is a big part of it. Last week at the Board of Retirement meeting, I obviously wasn't there. I was up in Alaska. I was not somewhere that day. Actually, that day I was in a float plane out in the middle of Lake Clark National Park, couldn't participate in the meeting via phone. Had I been a participant in the meeting, I would have been a vocal opponent of going to one meeting a month. I just may go ahead and write a memo to all the board members, give it to Bonnie, let her disseminate it, giving you my thoughts and my concerns. I won't say any more about that. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say other than the Coalition of County Unions has requested a presentation. I know next week, Mr. Kryman's been working on that along with Cassandra. So that should be interesting on the issue of retiree health care in general and little things like Anthem Blue Cross lifetime caps of $1 million, et cetera. So it should be hopefully it's going to be an informative and worthwhile meeting. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. So we are at adjournment. So unless anyone else wants to chime in at the last minute, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Everybody have a great day.
So move.
And thank you, Mr. Holcomb, and we are adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Okay.